And welcome back to the Red Zone Warriors Fantasy Football Show. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, the week of Halloween no less, here in the Red Zone Warriors satellite studios of Denver, Colorado and Grand Rapids, Michigan. I say all that to say Jay Cushman Corsel and me, Rob the Commish Smith, are in our respective basements, folks, to give you the best fantasy football information around. Cushman, I must say I'm in a very good mood today after our Fantasy Football Players Championship team went to 7-1 last night, that I even put on some of my best cologne today for our listening audience.
I actually can smell it all the way.
You smell it through the microphone, wafting through.
I don't even think it's coming through the microphone. I mean, I'm in Michigan, you're in Denver, but I can smell it here, and it's not from the microphone. So maybe a little less teenage boy, a little more almost 37-year-old man.
I think that seventh pump really put me over the top. All right, as always, tweet us all your fantasy football questions at Red Zone Warriors. All right, Jay, let's get right to it. What is the latest news and injury information around the NFL?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, he tweaked his hammy, but apparently he says he's going to be fine. He's not going to miss any time. So there's that. Darn, actually, as a Lions fan, darn. I was hoping, but they did lose. They did lose. Michael Vick will get the start for the Jets, ladies and gentlemen. We knew this was coming at some point because, well, Geno Smith sucks.
Sucks.
I mean, he's just terrible. So we knew this was coming. Not that it's going to get much better, I don't think. Vick's kind of old, kind of been sitting around a while. You know, not the greatest thing for the Jets, but then again, fuck the Jets, because who likes the Jets besides Jets fans? And, well, they're a bunch of degenerates anyway. Giovanni Bernard injures his right hip, although it is not considered serious. Monitor the injury, and if you got Gio, you might want to grab Jeremy Hill off the waiver wire if he's there. The Bengals have a really nice matchup at home this week, so yeah, you never know. If Gio's out, Hill could have a good game. So Jordan Cameron suffers a concussion, and he did not return to the game this weekend when that happened. He'll obviously have to pass the protocols to play in Week 9, and it is an early game this week, so Jordan Cameron owners, beware. Might want to grab a backup if you don't already have one in case he doesn't play. Surprise, surprise, Doug Martin has suffered an ankle injury. He did not return to the game. Bobby Rainey did take over. Look, Martin was also, I heard trade rumors about this guy. Obviously, the injury, and being banged up all the time is not going to help the Bucs get what they really want for him. Rainey is obviously better anyway, so Doug Martin. The muscle hamster had one good year,
yeah,
and now he's just relegated to mediocrity at best. Cordell Patterson out of walking boot. Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer said that Cordell took off the walking boot from his left foot on Monday. So Patterson suffered a bruise on his left ankle during the final kickoff return in the 19-13 overtime victory in Tampa on Sunday. Patterson had 86 yards, 6 catches. That's his highest fantasy output of the season. A little disappointing, Cordell. Come on, man. Get your shit together, bro. Alex Smith should be fine for Week 9. He suffered a shoulder sprain. Andy Reid told reporters today that Smith suffered a shoulder sprain. that he would be fine. It's a little tender. He should be okay. Keep an eye on it, though, just in case. Not that it affects any fantasy relevant wide receivers whatsoever if Alex Smith goes out of the game, except maybe Travis Kelce, who's a tight end. D'Angelo Williams expects to play in Week 9. He says he's ready. The coach says he's ready to roll to play against New Orleans this week. Look, their offense runs more effectively when both Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams are in. I find this absolutely hilarious reading this news because I just looked this morning when I woke up. A guy in my league jumped on the waiver wire this morning to grab Jonathan Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. Good job, buddy. I hope you play him this week. Rashad Jennings doesn't practice Monday. Come on, Rashad, get back. It was just a light workout, so not some, there's not a lot of concern here. Coughlin was quoted saying he's not ready to go. He had hoped to be back on the field by Wednesday. He planned to spend last week running and cutting on the knee. He injured against Atlanta several weeks back. Obviously, he's a little bit behind. Personally, the commission, I could use you back, Rashad. So please hurry back.
We could. I think, Jay, I believe this is a Monday night game or a Sunday night game or something. So it's going to be sketchy if he's questionable towards the end of the week. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Monday night, Sunday night games, man. You can really fuck yourself by waiting on a guy that might not play there. And our last little bit of injury news: Brian Quick injured his rotator cuff and is out for the year. Ouch! 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 Go to hell, Kenny Britt, you rat bastard! Still not picking your ass up. Fuck you. Rob?
All right, well, that is it for the news and notes and injury issues coming off of Week 8. All right, so we're going to continue with Week 8 recap of the NFL. We're going to go game by game here quickly through and just talk to you guys about the relevant fantasy implications that we had this past week. So I am going to start with the Denver Broncos quite handling the Chargers in a very good way, 35-21, division rival. A lot of hoopla about how good the Chargers are and whatnot, beating the Seahawks and so forth. But you know what? Yeah, you come into Denver and you take your medicine is what you do. You take your medicine. So Peyton Manning went 25 of 35 for 286 yards, 3 touchdowns and no picks, because the man doesn't throw picks unless somebody else screws up, frankly. So he did what he does for his fantasy owners. Ronnie Hillman continues to be the man. 20 carries for 109 yards. No score, but man, you'll take those yards. He also had 3 catches for 29 yards to add to that. So Hillman's definitely the guy. It'll be interesting to see when Ball comes back. How much he cuts into Hillman, but I think Hillman's going to be the man there moving forward. Emmanuel Sanders, man, I was up against him in a couple leagues this week and got my ass kicked. Just tough when you're a Denver fan. You're happy about your guys playing well. You just kind of wish it was some other guys sometimes, because Emmanuel Sanders caught 9 of 9 targets for 120 yards in 3. Yes, folks, 3 touchdowns. He just absolutely crushed it. Demaryius Thomas caught 8 of his 12 for 105 himself. Welker, little showing there, caught 2 of 2 for 5 yards. He's kind of sputtering out here, folks. Not really worth a start anytime soon. On the losing,
Adderall, apparently.
Yeah. On the losing side of the ball, the San Diego once Superchargers, Phillip Rivers completed 30 of 41 for 252 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions. Brandon Oliver continues to be the man here. Ryan Matthews actually might play this week, so keep that in mind. He had 13 carries for only 36 yards averaging less than 3 yards a carry because the Denver rush defense is no joke. He did make up for it a little bit from a receiving perspective. He caught 7 of 8 targets for 27 yards, so he put up a decent number in a PPR for you, but probably a little less than you were looking for. Otherwise, Keenan Allen had a big night. He caught 9 of his 13 targets for 73 yards and a score. And Antonio Gates, old man Gates, is doing old man Gates things. Caught 5 of 8 for 54, but 2 scores. So he is definitely coming through. And Latavius Green, not so much. And that's it for the Denver Chargers game.
All right, well, thanks for letting us know what Denver's doing there, Rob. I'm sure everybody's really interested in what the soon-to-be AFC champion is doing before they head to the Super Bowl to face my Detroit Lions, who got, yes, another win this week, 22-21, over the slumping Atlanta Falcons over in London. And we'll go over this game real quick here. Stafford, 24 of 47, 325 yards, 2 TDs, and a pick. Rushing was not great. Listen, when it's just Joik or just Reggie in the backfield for the Lions guys, it seems like they get less production than when both of them are back there. It's weird, I know, but it's the way it is. Joik Bell, 14 for 39, added 2 catches for 22 yards. The real story here would be either Golden Tate or Theo Riddick. We'll start with Tate, 7 catches, 151 yards and a touchdown. Guy's killing it. He had a long of 59. Theo Riddick came back. He only had 3 carries for 5 yards, but Theo Riddick, ladies and gentlemen, 8 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. That's on 12 targets, folks. So, obviously that'll go down a little bit when Calvin Johnson comes back, but, man, I think they really like this guy. Rob, in the offseason, they were actually saying during training camp that Theo Riddick was, quote, uncoverable out of the backfield. They really, really like this guy. They really like to throw the ball to this guy. So keep an eye on Theo Riddick, especially if you're in keeper leagues or dynasty leagues. Moving on to the losing side of the ball. Matt Ryan, 20 of 27, 228, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Not a bad day. Thank you for bouncing back a little bit there, Matt Ryan. Steven Jackson, old man, 18 for 60 and a touchdown. Roddy White, Julio Jones were really the only relevant receivers here, and they weren't even really that relevant as neither of them caught a touchdown because that went to Devonta Freeman on his only catch of the day. So really, not really that much of an inspiring game fantasy-wise, but for me personally, brings the Lions to the top all by themselves of the NFC North, and any day that happens, I'm a happy man. Rob?
Yeah, it was an ugly win, as they say, but it's still a win. Still a win, and when the Bears and Packers lose, makes it even more important.
Skippy.
We gave our friends, our cohorts over there, the Brits, some exciting football on some level. Coming down to the wire here. All this drama at the end with Matt Prater and the kick and whatnot. So hopefully.
Hey, speaking of Matt Prater, hold on, I gotta address something here real quick. As a Detroit fan talking to a Denver fan, fuck you for your fucking cast off. Maybe I'll make it bullshit. All I got to say, listen. Now I know why you fucking cut him. It's because he got off the fucking sauce, and now he can't fucking kick straight. So I'm starting it now. A petition to please let Matt Prater start drinking again.
Yeah, we sewed a pocket in his pants for a flask.
Well, there's the fucking problem.
Yeah, hitting that thing. He was kicking. He got this 64-yard record or something a mile high here. So between the lack of elevation you guys have there and the lack of booze in his system, he is just not what he used to be, clearly. All right, we're going to spend very little time talking about 2 teams that no one gives a rat's ass about, and that would be the Rams, the 2-5 Rams. And, well, I guess now the 4-3 Chiefs. The Chiefs crushing the Rams as they should, 34-7. We have Alex Smith, 24 of 28 passes for 226 yards, but no touchdowns, no picks. Not much to see here, folks. Jamal Charles getting it done, 13 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Man, the guy's a beast. Davis is also getting it done. Mr. Niles Davis. He had 16 carries himself for 49 yards, but only 3.1 yards a carry and a score. It's because the Chiefs were crushing the Rams, so he was getting some carries there in the fourth quarter. He also had a kickoff return of 90-something odd yards for a touchdown. So if you happen to play him for some reason, he definitely came through. Travis Kelce caught 4 of 6 targets for 45 yards, so just kind of a blasé day for him. You know, respectable in a PPR, but you're kind of looking for more. And Charles, on top of his rushing amount, he caught all 4 of his targets for 44 yards, as he does, just to kind of pad his fantasy numbers for the day. St. Louis side of the ball, Austin Davis, 15 of only 25 attempts for only 160 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Wah, wah, wah. Trey Mason, only 7 carries, the most on the team for 32 yards. And again, receiving-wise, not great. Kenny Britt had the most targets, only 5, only caught 2 of them for 52 yards. So it was a pathetic showing once again for the Rams, and that is it for this shitty game.
Shitty games. That's what happens. Moving on, Houston, Tennessee. Houston won this one, 30-16. Arian Foster was a big showing here. 20 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, added 4 catches for 22 yards, and another fucking touchdown. Holy Arian Foster Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Hell, Alfred Blue even had 14 carries for 42 yards in this one.
My boy Blue!
Blue! All right, Fitzpatrick, normal Fitzpatrick, 19-35, 227 touchdown, although he didn't throw any picks in this one, which is pretty good. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 for 95. Andre Johnson, 7 for 55. And not a great day receiving or passing for Houston. Tennessee. Is it Zach Mettenberger?
It is.
That is his name. 27 of 41, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Wow. Great job, buddy. Great job. Bishop Sankey, 9 for 35. Dude. Oh, man. Sankey. You know, so much hope for this guy at the beginning of the season. He has just not impressed me at all. At all. So the running game in Tennessee, no good. Nate Washington, 4 for 64. Kendall Wright, 3 for 53, continues to be disappointing with the lack of touchdowns. Delaney Walker and Justin Hunter both got touchdowns. Justin Hunter, though, man, you want to talk about a disappointing performance? Led the team in targets with 10 targets and only caught 4 balls. Delaney Walker also second in the team with targets with 9 targets, also only caught 4 balls. Now, obviously, that could be because of this rookie quarterback in his first start. Not throwing good balls to him, but man, that's a lot of freaking misses or drops right there, my friend. Justin Hunter, you might want to step it up a bit. And that's all I got for Tennessee-Houston, Rob.
All right, from one crap game to another. The only thing worse, Jay, than the 1-6 Bucks playing the now 3-5 Vikings is had the Bucks played the Raiders. But the next best thing would be the Vikings. The Vikings won this ugly game, 19.
Well, that would have been the next best thing, is if the Bucks would have beat the Vikings.
Yeah, that too. The Vikings win in this one 19-13 over the lowly, and I do mean lowly, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On the Minnesota side of the ball, Teddy Bridgewater, 24 of 42 for 241 yards and 1 touchdown. Jerick McKinnon, kind of hoping he had a little better day than he did against the lowly Bucks, but he did halfway decent. He had 16 carries for 83 yards, which is 5.2 yards a carry, not too shabby there. He also caught one ball, but it was for -1 yard, so, that is what it is.
Yeah, what the fuck's that? I thought he was supposed to be receiving back.
Yeah, he is. I don't know what the deal was with that. Asiata actually came in and caught 4 of 5 targets for 26 yards. It's really weird to figure out what's going on here. The bottom line is that McKinnon is still definitely in the game more. He's getting higher snap count, higher touch rate, but it's just kind of weird how they're using these guys. So, as we mentioned prior, Cordell Patterson decided to actually show up and play some NFL football in this one. He only caught 6 of his targets, but he caught 6 of 12 for 86 yards, but no scores. He also ran the ball once for 10 yards. Greg Jennings caught the lone touchdown of the day. He caught 3 of 6 for 38 in that one score. On the lowly Bucs side, Mike Glennon, who's been continually named the starter here just because, frankly, they don't have any better options. He was completed 19 of 28 for only 171 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Doug Martin, he did sprain his ankle, as we mentioned prior. Prior to that, he had 10 carries for 27 yards, so he's doing Doug Martin-type things. Not exactly driving up his trade value here in this game. Bobby Rainey came in, carried 8 times for 25 yards, a little bit better. And Mike Evans was the highest targeted Buck on the team, caught 4 of 7 for 78. Vincent Jackson only caught 1 of 5 for 13. Now, Vincent Jackson was the other guy who's been trade rumors, all around him. But when these guys are putting up performances like that against Minnesota, no less, good luck getting a 10th round draft pick for your ass.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to move on here to was probably the most disappointing game of the week for me, in the fact that I actually played fucking Russell Wilson over Jay Cutler and lost because of it. That's right, I lost. God. Anyway, yeah. Seattle pulled this one out 13-9. Wasn't much of a game. Russell Wilson, 20 of 32, 199 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Marshawn Lynch, 14-62. Added 1 catch for 2 yards. He doesn't catch much. Doug Baldwin still, going to be the most targeted receiver here. 6 for 61, although he didn't get a touchdown in this one. The touchdown went to Luke Wilson. No, not the crooked nose actor. Moving on to the Carolina side of the ball. Cam Newton, 12 of 22 for 171 yards and a touchdown. Wah, wah, wah. Added 12 carries for 24 yards. Jonathan Stewart, 16 carries for 79 yards. Again, D'Angelo Williams is coming back this week most likely, so good luck with that backfield. Calvin Benjamin, 4 for 94. Kachery, 3 for 33. Greg Olsen, disappointing. 1 catch for 16 yards on 3 targets. There's your problem, Cam. You weren't targeting what could possibly be one of the best fucking tight ends in the league this year. Dumbass.
Indeed, he wasn't. This was the one really bad week for Greg Olsen, unfortunately for us. Some of our leagues, though, we still pulled it through as we do. So we're going to move on to the little bit more exciting game. Came down to the wire on this one. The Red Rocket does a quarterback sneak at the end. The fourth quarter drives it home for a victory over the Ravens at the tune of 27-24. Red Rocket. Nice. Speaking of the Red Rocket, he was 21 of 28 for 266 yards, no TDs through the air, but again, he had the one on the ground, 1 pick. Giovanni Bernard, we mentioned, had a hip injury at some point during this game. Can't remember exactly when, but he had 16 carries for 45 yards and a score on the ground. He also had 2 targets and 2 catches for 2 yards, so a little disappointing, but again, he went down with an injury. We'll see about his status. Follow that later in the week. Jeremy Hill came in, carried the ball 10 times for 25 yards, caught 4 of 4 for 28 as well. And Sanu, man, keeps getting it done, especially when A.J. Green has been out, but he is coming back. That being said, Sanu looks like a beast out there. You should have seen one of these one-handed catches he had across the middle. It was very impressive. He was targeted 9 times, caught 5 of them for 125 yards. He also ran the ball twice for 27 yards. So he's legit. He's still going to carry some fantasy value even when A.J. Green comes back, and that is expected this week. On the Ravens side of the ball, Joe Flacco, 17 of 34, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Justin Forsett continues to be the guy here as far as number of carries wise. Carried 17 times for 68 yards, no score. And then Lorenzo Taliaferro had 7 carries for only 27 yards, but he did score 2 touchdowns, so he is clearly the touchdown vulture here in Baltimore, to the detriment of all us Justin Forsett owners moving forward. From a receiving perspective, wow, Steve Smith was targeted 9 times, only caught 3 of those for 35 yards, so nothing to see here. He did have a touchdown called back at the end because, well, he pushed off a guy, and that's called offensive pass interference. That's what happens. Forsett.
He wasn't pushing off. He was trying to punch him in the face.
Yeah, most likely. Forsett caught 3 of 5 for 17. Taliaferro caught 2 of 3 for 42. But at the end of the day, well, the better team won, Jay.
Yeah, well, that typically what happens. I mean, just saying. All right, we're going to move on to Miami, Jacksonville. An interstate matchup, ladies and gentlemen. And the Dolphins came away with the win, 27-13. Disappointing day for Ryan Tannehill here. A lot of people picked him up on the waiver wires as he was doing pretty well over the past few weeks. He was only 16 to 29 for 196 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 pick. He added 5 carries for 48 yards. Lamar Miller continues to do well here, 14 for 78. That's 5.6 yards a carry. He actually added 3 catches for 21 yards in this one. Mike Wallace was the most targeted receiver and didn't do much with him, though. He only had 2 catches for 59 yards on 7 targets. Rashard Matthews was the recipient of the touchdown this week from Tannehill. Moving on to Jacksonville. Blake Bortles, 18 to 34, 221, 1 TD, 2 picks. This guy continues to pile up picks on a weekly basis, man. He's just, he has decent numbers except for the picks. Denard Robinson continues to get, a fuck ton of carries for Denard Robinson. 18 carries, 108 yards. Added 1 catch for 10 yards. Toby Gerhart only had 4 carries in this one for 10 yards. So, Allen Robinson, 5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Hearns, 3 for 49. Cecil Shorts, 3 for 41. And that is all we got to say about Jacksonville, Miami. Fuck you, Florida.
Yeah, it's too humid there anyway.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
All right, so we're going to move on to, the drubbing. I'm sure this is music to your ears, Jay. The drubbing, the absolute crushing of the Bears by the Patriots to the tune of 51 to 23. The Patriots are back, baby.
Makes me so
back.
fucking happy.
Well, it doesn't make me too happy because they're in the AFC, but nonetheless, they still crushed the Bears here. Wow. It's just light switch came on a couple weeks in a row here. Brady's crushing it. He was 30 of 35. Granted, he's only throwing it like 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, but still, 30 of 35 for 354 friggin' yards. 5 touchdowns. No picks on top of that. Damn, that was a big out. That's what's called a big outing. Big, very big outing.
Huge.
Wow. What the one disappointment from this ass whooping clearly has to be Shane Vereen. I mean, come on, you win. Granted, they won running away, which doesn't help Vereen necessarily, but with Stephen Ridley out and the score 51 points, you think Vereen would have been a little bit more involved, but he wasn't. He only had 5 carries for 22 yards, and on top of that, he only caught 3 of only 5 targets for 23 yards. So man, just no touchdowns. Just really don't know what to do with this guy week in and week out.
Be disappointed.
Yeah, this is the hooded coach. You just don't know what the guy's going to do. But they're winning, so he could care less about our opinion, clearly. The surprise of the day on the New England side of the ball was Jonas Gray. Yes, I said Jonas Gray. He's clearly taken over the Ridley role, at least this past week. Who knows moving forward? As we said, he carried the ball 17 times, a team high 17 times, and it wasn't close, for 86 yards, average 5.1 yards a carry. So next week he'll probably carry it one time for 7 yards and be benched. Who knows? But from a receiving perspective, Gronk, man, I don't know, Jay, did you see his touchdown, one of his 3 touchdowns, I should say, where he caught the ball at like the 40 and just drug defenders into the end zone? It was amazing.
Yeah, it was the Gronk of old, you know.
It really was. He caught all 9 of his targets for 149 yards and 3 freaking touchdowns. And yes, I played him in the daily fantasy league in a 50-50, and man, I did well, needless to say. Brandon LaFell, he's surprising people here. Caught all 11 of his targets for 124 yards and a score. Tim Wright caught 7 of 7 for 61 and a score. Everyone's scoring. Frickin' Brady's wife and mother are scoring touchdowns left and right. Unbelievable. Edelman, however, was also disappointing, I should mention. Only caught 1 of 4 targets for 14 yards. He was actually benched on the latter part of this for, I guess they're speculating because he had a couple drops. It's really odd because he was his go-to guy. So that's frustrating for all of us Edelman owners. Man, on the other side of the ball, Cutler still put up a very good day from a fantasy perspective. 20 of 30 for 227, 3 touchdowns and only 1 pick. Forte continues to get it done. 19 carries for 114 yards.
Man.
Caught 6 of 8 for 54 and a score. So crushing it as he does. Brandon Marshall was targeted the most on the team, but only caught 3 of 10. He cannot be happy with that for 35 yards. Martellus Bennett caught 6 of 7 for 95 and a score, and Alshon caught 5 of 8 for 59 and a score. It's a pretty high-scoring game, clearly, all the way through. But the Patriots, they did Patriots of old type things.
They absolutely did, and honestly, it couldn't have happened to a nicer team. And I'm talking about the Bears. Fuck you, Chicago. We're first, bitch. Sorry, I had to gloat a little bit. So we're going to move on to a big shit game here. Although it was high scoring, I don't know why or how, besides the fact that Kyle Orton kicks ass. Buffalo, New York, where Buffalo kicked the shit out of the lowly Jets, 43-23. Kyle Orton, as I said, anybody that picked up Kyle Orton, as we were mentioning that you might want to do last week, listen, the guy was 10 of 17 for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns. Okay, that means almost half of the fucking time he throws the ball, it's going in the end zone. Not too fucking shabby there, Kyle Orton. Must be because he got rid of that mustache, Rob. 4 touchdowns, man. Anthony Dixon, 22 carries for 44 yards. No catches. Bryce Brown, 7 carries for 15 yards. Not much going on in Buffalo's rushing game, as we said. A lot of the production this week came from rookie Sammy Watkins. 3 catches, 157 yards, and a touchdown with a long of 84. That's 52.3 yards per carry, folks. Wow. The only other touchdown, there were 4 of them. That's right. Robert Woods, 3 for 50 and a touchdown. Scott Chandler, 1 for 12 and a touchdown. And somebody by the name of Lee Smith, 2 for 5 and a touchdown. Moving on to what is probably one of the saddest performances offensively that anybody's ever seen. To be honest with you. Well, let's just say this, okay? Michael Vick came in for Geno Smith after Geno Smith went 2 for 8 for 5 yards and 3 picks. Yeah, 3 picks, 2 completions and 3 picks. Okay. Well, Vick then comes in and goes 18 of 36 for 153 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Oh wait, he also had 4 fucking fumbles. So if we count those up, ladies, that's seven turnovers. Although he did only lose 2 of the fumbles. So good God Almighty, people.
Do they not have a third string quarterback there? Because clearly these two are not getting it done.
Dude, no, dude, if they do, they better get his ass in the game quick. Because
Wow.
I mean, dude, Rex Ryan would probably be a better quarterback. To be honest with you, this is fucking pathetic.
I mean,
You know,
they're probably limited on his mobility, but she could probably throw the ball better.
he wouldn't throw that many fucking interceptions. I'll guarantee you that. Chris Ivory was a little bit of a star here today. 13 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the 2 touchdowns were what saved his day. Bilal Powell did steal a touchdown from him. So Ivory could even had a better day, but better get that yards per carry up, bud. Passing side of the game, obviously it wasn't great. There was no touchdowns thrown. Eric Decker was targeted a team high 12 times. He had 7 catches for 40 yards. Percy Harvin had 9 targets, but only 3 catches for 22 yards and 4 carries for 28 yards. So obviously, Percy needed a little bit better team to be Percy, and now that he's on the Jets, he's going to become a basement dweller. Rob?
Yeah, man, he is a sketchy play for sure. All right, so we're going to move on to one of the more exciting games this past week, and that would be the Eagles' loss to the Cardinals to the tune of 20-24 on a John Brown, the rookie Brown, 75-yard touchdown at the end of the game to put them over the top. Wow, Carson Palmer, 20 of 42 for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns. The guy's a gunslinger. He just throws it all over the field to all different kinds of people. Andre Ellington, 23 carries for 71 yards and a score on the ground. He also caught 3 of 6 for 14 yards. So the guy's getting an average of probably 25 touches a game, if not a little bit higher than that. The guy is definitely getting it done and should be in your lineup every single week. Larry Fitzgerald, this was his apparently his coming out party this year. He was targeted 10 times, caught 7 of those for 160 yards and a score.
Fuck you, Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, with a long of 80 yards. As mentioned, John Brown, the rookie, continues to have a role here in this offense. He caught 5 of his 10 targets for 119 yards and a touchdown, and again, most of that was on that 80-yard reception TD there at the end of the game to win it for the Cardinals, which frankly should have gone to Michael Floyd, who's not in the box score because, well, he didn't catch any balls. He did not catch a single ball. I think he was targeted like 4 times. I had him in 3 of my 4 leagues. Caught nothing.
Fuck you, Larry Fitzgerald.
Got me a 0. A 0. It's hard to come back from a 0. Thank you, Michael Floyd. Now, in all fairness, he did bang up his knee, although he did come back in the game. He was more or less a decoy, clearly, because, again, caught no balls, Jay, for a 0.
Fuck you, Larry Fitzgerald.
Not good. Not good at all. On the Eagles side, Nick Foles had a pretty good game here. Threw the ball 62 times. Dear God, 62 friggin' times he threw the pigskin through the air. He completed 36 of those.
And we wonder why Shady McCoy is not having the greatest of years?
Yeah, well, he completed 36 of those for 411 yards. Yes, he broke the 400 mark. He did. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. LaShawn McCoy carried the ball 21 times for 83 yards, average of 4 yards a carry. He also caught 3 of 5 for 14 yards. Jeremy Maclin was targeted the most on the team, caught 12 of 16 for 187 yards and 2 scores. I mean, they were talking about this. These guys just blew up. Guys like Maclin, guys like Gronk. Who were some of the other guys that just absolutely?
Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders. The most guys that went over like. Yeah, Roethlisberger over like 35 points or whatever was the highest since like 2011. I mean, this week was huge for guys just absolutely blowing up, and Jeremy Maclin was clearly one of those guys. Jordan Matthews caught 6 of 11 for 47. Riley Cooper caught 5 of 9 for 88. But the Cardinals ended up again, a very exciting game at the end, catching a long bomb to win this one 24-20.
Yeah, that was an exciting game. And we're unfortunately gonna have to move on here to a less exciting game. And that's Oakland, Cleveland, and obviously Oakland, who is still on their way to a mark that only my Detroit Lions hold thus far. They still haven't won a game, and they haven't won this one. They lost 13-23. Derek Carr in this one. 34 of 54 for 328 yards and a touchdown. He added 2 carries for, minus 3 yards, so he was just sacked a couple times. Darren McFadden actually threw a pass in this one, did not complete it. He did carry the ball 12 times for 59 yards, and he had 4 catches for 26 yards. Jones-Drew, I'm not even going to mention him because he didn't do shit. Moving on. Michael Rivera, 7 catches, 83 yards. Holmes, man, I tell you, 5 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. And Kembrell Tompkins showed up in this one, coming over from the Patriots. 4 catches for 34 yards, and James Jones, 6 for 62. Moving on, Brian Hoyer on the Cleveland side of the ball, 19 of 28 for 275 yards and a touchdown. Ben Tate, 15 carries for 26 yards. Man, come on, Ben Tate. What the fuck is going on with that? You did get a touchdown to save the day. Added 1 catch for 8 yards. Terrence West, 7 carries, 11 yards. Hawkins in this one, 7 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. He was obviously the guy to have. Cameron, 3 catches for 40 yards. Suffered a concussion in this one. So, not great for Jordan Cameron owners. Isaiah Crowell only had 1 catch for 8 yards and 1 carry for 1 yard. So he obviously has been moved back into a strictly backup role for the most part. And that's all I got for Cleveland, Oakland, because it's a shitty game. Rob?
Yeah, we're going to move on to the kind of one of the shocking games of the week. The Steelers crushing the Colts 51-34, wearing those old school yellow and black zebra-like looking uniforms.
They look like fucking bumblebees. Stop wearing them fucking things.
Well, how can you stop when you wear them and you score 51?
That is a good point, especially against the Colts, who have a pretty staunch defense thus far this year.
Yeah, not only do I think they continue wearing them, I don't think they wash them. I just think they just throw them back on and get right back out there. I mean, they just got it done.
They probably just aren't going to take them off, man.
That could very well be. Talk about one of the big stellar performances of the week. That would have been Big Ben Roethlisberger. He completed 40 of 49. I mean, unbelievable. 40 of 49 completions for 522 yards and 6 freaking touchdowns. I mean, dear God.
I think I read somewhere he's the only quarterback in NFL history to have 2 500-yard games in a career.
Yeah. Frickin' Joe Flacco thinks he's elite. Ha! And no picks. Frickin' 49 attempts, no picks even. Dear Lord. Unbelievable. Le'Veon Bell, 24 carries for 92 yards himself. Uh, well, and of course, you score 51 points. Antonio Brown's going to have a role. He caught 10 of 13 for 133 yards and two scores, two amazing scores. One of them, the catch was just unbelievable. The guy's, man, you got to say, he's freaking A, man. He's the best wide receiver in the game. I don't know. I mean, that sounds weird, but it has to be the case. The guy's a beast. He's an absolute beast. He's got hands like Chris Carter back in the day. He's the hardest cover in the league, even though he's not big. The guy just gets it done all over the place. Just crazy. Heath Miller was actually targeted the second to most of the team, caught 7 of 8 for 112 yards and a score. And as we mentioned, Martavius Bryant is a guy to look at on waiver wires here. He caught 5 of 7 for 83 and 2 touchdowns. Just guys all over the place. It was just a great day for Pittsburgh, clearly. Andrew Luck completed 26 of 45 for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not exactly a bad day for Lucky either. Bradshaw carried on the ball for only 6 times for 35 yards because they were getting beat most of this game. Did have a score on the ground and did catch 7 of 7 for 52 yards as well. So Trent Richardson was active for this game, but he was apparently a healthy scratch because he did not get in the game. I think he was coming off either a hamstring or an ankle injury, something from last week, so they decided not to play him in this one. T.Y. Hilton targeted 10 times, caught 6 for 155 and a score. And the other guy we'll be talking about here in a bit, Dante Moncrief. When Reggie Wayne is out, maybe even when he's in, but clearly when he's out, he's a guy to start. Targeted the most on the team, caught 7 of 12 for 113 and a score. And Hakeem Nicks was practically not even on the field, caught 1 of 5 for 27. And Dwayne Allen was weirdly, is only targeted twice, caught 1 for 21. It was for a score, but none of the tight ends here, him nor Fleener, did much in this game. I think Andrew was just pushing the ball down the field a little farther than these tight ends could get at the time. So that's it for the Steelers-Colts.
All right, moving on to yet another game from this week that, well, just touched me deep, deep down inside, and that is the Green Bay Packers losing to the New Orleans Saints. What can we say, folks? The Saints obviously just can't win on the road, but they can get it done at home. They won this one 44-23 over the Packers. We'll start with the losing side of the ball here. Aaron Rodgers, 28 of 39, 418 yards, but only 1 touchdown and 2 picks. Aaron Rodgers looking a little more like Jay Cutler. Rushing, Eddie Lacy, 13 for 59. Rodgers had a rushing touchdown, saved his day. Lacy, man, some days he's great, some days he's not rushing. But tell you what, he did something this week that it's not overly typical to see out of Eddie Lacy, and that is catching 8 balls on 9 targets for 123 yards, guys. Eddie Lacy getting her done one way or the other. Randall Cobb, 5 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Unfortunately, Jordy Nelson was sick or had a hernia or voodoo curse. I don't know. 3 catches, 25 yards. That hurts a lot. Thanks, Jordy. Not good, man. All right, moving on to the New Orleans side of the ball. Drew Brees doing Drew Brees things. 27 of 32, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. My play of the week, saving my ass, Mr. Mark Ingram, 24 carries, 172 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks did get 1 carry for 4 yards, stealing what could have been another Mark Ingram touchdown, by the way. Fuck you, Brandon Cooks. He also led the team in targets and receptions with 6 catches for 94 yards and yet another touchdown. Jimmy Graham, 5 catches, 59 yards and a touchdown. And the other touchdown went to a guy by the name of Josh Hill, who you've never heard of, so who gives a shit. Other than that, just happy to see the Packers lose to put the Lions alone atop the NFC North. Rob?
Yes, indeed. He did. Rodgers did tweak a hammy, and this one's clearly affected his play. But nonetheless, they lost one way or the other. All right, so we're going to move on to last night's game, the last game of the week, and that would be the historic rivalry between the Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys in this NFC East battle. When you get into these type battles, this rivalry, this history they have here, you never know what's going to happen. And that played out clearly because the Redskins won. They won this game 20-17, and nobody saw this happening, especially in the Dallas Stadium. Just didn't see it happening.
No, I sure as shit didn't.
No. Man, Tony Romo went 17-28 for 209 yards and a score and a back contusion. Because, yes, he got crushed on a blitz, was laid out like a limp flounder. They had to take him to the back room, locker room, check him out. He ended up coming back in for overtime. But, man, yeah, that was brutal.
You got to say, that's a tough motherfucker right there.
It is. He does. He plays hurt. He plays with broken ribs, broken ankles. His back had surgery on it this offseason. He got just crushed, takes a Toradol shot or something.
And bends him in half, dude.
He gets back in there. Yeah, give him that. Brandon Whedon actually came in when Romo was out and did pretty well. He went 4 of 6 for 69 yards and a score. But DeMarco Murray still crushing it. Just the guy is just I mean, he's the MVP of the NFL right now. There's just no doubt about it. 19 carries, 141 yards, at an average of 7.4 yards a carry. Unbelievable.
Is that 8 games in a row that
straight,
he's had over 100
8
yards?
straight,
Jesus
yeah. He's blowing that record out of the water. Yeah, Jim Brown's old record. So on the receiving side, he also caught all 4 of his targets for 80 yards. I mean, just single-handedly getting it done. I mean, it's like you have a fantasy team. You only need him and a quarterback and a kicker, and you're good. You're good. Jason Witten caught 5 of 8 for 70 yards and a score. Des Bryant came up small, only caught 3 of 7 for 30 yards, and what was a very impressive score as he lunged for the end zone, fighting off defenders left and right, but still not the numbers you expect to see out of Des Bryant. Colt McCoy, man, not only did Dallas lose, but it was to the hands of Colt McCoy, the third-string quarterback, was 25 of 30 for 299 yards, no passing TDs. He did have a rushing TD and had 1 pick. Alfred Morris carried the ball 18 times for 73 yards and a score. Roy Halou carried it 5 for 29. He also caught all 2 of his targets for 14 yards. Deshaun Jackson was targeted 7 times, caught 6 for $136. Pierre Garçon caught all 4 of his targets for 47, and Jordan Reed caught all 7 of his targets for 40 yards. So it just was kind of dumping and dinking down the field. Colt McCoy was, which is why he was 25 of 30. So not a whole lot from the Washington side of the ball outside of Deshaun Jackson from a fantasy perspective. But they did get the win, and at the end of the day, that's all they care about. All right, so that is it for the game-by-game recap of Week 8. So we're going to get on to the Week 9 waiver wire pickups, and we're going to start at quarterback. And we're going to start with Carson Palmer. If he is not picked up in your league, which I almost didn't put him in this week because he should be picked up in most leagues. But the guy's thrown 2 TD passes in each of his 4 starts this season, has at least 250 passing yards in every single game. The guy, man, even though he completed less than half of his attempts against the Eagles this past Sunday, he still threw for 329 yards without an interception in that victory. He does face the Dallas defense this coming week, which has been statistically kind of hard to throw against. But if Colt McCoy can get a win and be that efficient, I'm sure Carson Palmer can do the same. So take a look at him on the waiver wire.
Yeah, actually, I was listening to sports radio. They were talking about Carson Palmer, and somebody put it really well. The reason his completion percentage is so low, but his interception percentage is also really low, is the guy is just a really unselfish player. If you watched that game, a lot of those incompletions were literally passes where he just threw it out of bounds because he doesn't want to throw the interception, doesn't want to turn it over. That's called taking care of the ball, ladies and gentlemen. That's your moment of football knowledge with the Cushman. So moving on here, Robert Griffin III. Look, Gruden made some comments that seemed to point toward a later return for him, possibly not until after the Week 10 bye. So if that is indeed true, his price is going to spike right before his delicious Week 11 matchup with the shitty Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So if you're thinking about taking Robert Griffin III, you might want to do it soon because his price will go up. He has the Washington has the Vikings up next, although that will probably be Colt McCoy. And if RG3 comes back after the bye, it'll be the Buccaneers. So good luck with Gimpy RG3, folks. Rob?
Yeah, so we're going to move on to the mustache-less Kyle Orton, the Bills. As we mentioned, the guy crushed it last week. He is on bye this week, so he's going to be off a lot of people's radar, so it's a good time to grab him if you need someone down the road here. He blew up those 4 touchdown passes, as we mentioned, against the Jets this past Sunday. That gave him 8 TD passes in his last 3 starts. He's averaging almost 275 yards a game. So again, he's got a bye this week. He follows that up with the Chiefs and the Dolphins, so he's definitely a guy to pick up if you have a need there, quarterback.
Yes, and here's somebody not to pick up unless you are without a quarterback whatsoever, I would say, and you can't find any of the people that we've already mentioned, or Tom Brady's grandma.
Yeah, Rex Ryan might be a better pickup.
Yeah, I agree, but we're going to go ahead and mention the fact that Michael Vick is getting the start this week, against the Chiefs. Gino's been benched. I mean, good God. Just, if you have to, I guess, Vic might run a touchdown in for you, might get some rushing yards for you, but he also might fumble the ball 4 fucking times. So, good luck with that. We're going to go ahead and move on from quarterbacks to running backs. And this is a guy you've been hearing a lot of chatter about out of Tampa Bay, a guy by the name of Charles Sims. He's been out with a broken ankle since the preseason. He returned to practice last week and is eligible to come off short-term IR this weekend. Doug Martin and Bobby Rainey, look, these guys are kind of, fighting each other. Neither of them are super impressive. This guy's got an immediate chance to really carve out a role for himself here. Everything I've heard about him, he's supposed to be really good, really quick. So keep your eye on Charles Sims. And they've got the Browns, Falcons, and Redskins coming up next. Browns, maybe not the greatest defense to go against, though, but the Falcons and Redskins, definitely good matchups here. So if Charles Sims starts getting some time, he might be a good stash for your bench and the later flex play. Rob?
All right, the next one to look at would be the Patriots running back, Jonas Gray. We mentioned him earlier. He only got 3 carries in his first game with the Patriots that they had without Stephen Ridley. But the last game, he ran it 17 times for 86 yards in their blowout against the Bears. So, again, it's hard to know what the hooded coach is going to do week in and week out, but he at least appears as of today to be the Stephen Ridley guy taking over for this offense. So take a look at him if you have some running back needs.
Yes. Now we're going to mention Lorenzo Taliaferro. He's probably picked up in a lot of leagues, but there may be some leagues he's not. If you need some running back help, this guy could help you out. You got Bernard Pierce is getting back into the mix here. He was a healthy scratch for Week 8. Talaferro, he carried 7 times for 27 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had a couple catches, 42 yards. He's got a couple pretty decent matchups. Titans and Steelers coming up. So, like I said, he's probably already picked up in most leagues, but if he's not and you need some running back help, this guy could be a pretty decent flex play for you. Rob?
Yeah, we're going to skip to the last running back here, and that would be Lions running back Theo Riddick. Reggie Bush is definitely coming back from the injury that he suffered here. But in the last 2 games, Riddick has caught 13 passes for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we'll see what his workload is when Reggie Bush gets back. But he's worth a look, especially in PPR leagues, because Bush is not exactly one of the most healthiest players in the game. All right, so we're going to move on to wide receivers, and we're going to talk about Raiders wide receiver Andre Holmes. Andre Holmes has now scored 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He's averaging almost 75 yards per game during that stretch. So it's not as though he's just getting all his fantasy value from the TD. So he's definitely probably one of the hottest wide receivers on the waiver wire for this week.
Yeah, another guy that's going to be hot this week is Mr. Brandon LaFell of the Patriot. If you look at his numbers over the last 5 games, 11 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown against the Bears on Sunday. 6 catches, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Bills in Week 6, and 9 for 119 and 1 touchdown against the Chiefs in Week 4. He hasn't been targeted more than 6 times in any game until Brady peppered him with 11 targets against Chicago. So he's getting up there, and he's a wide receiver 3 territory. And listen, they got the Broncos coming up, so they're going to have to throw the living shit out of the ball. Then they got a possibly high-scoring potential game here. So Brandon LaFell, ladies and gentlemen. Rob?
All right, the next wide receiver is Jaguars' Allen Robinson. He was scoreless in his first 6 games, but he's now had a TD catch in 2 straight. And over his last 6, he's has 34 catches on 54 targets. So it's definitely a guy to take a look at, especially in a PPR league, if you have any needs there, wide receiver.
Yeah, another guy here, Devontae Adams in the Packers. Listen, he had a season-high 7 catches in the Packers Sunday night loss to the Saints. His role's obviously starting to expand. It's continuing to expand, rather. They're going to be off this week in a bye. They got the Bears and then the Eagles when they come back. So, listen, in a passing offense like Green Bay, a guy that's going to start getting targeted as much as Adams is definitely worth a look. Rob?
Yeah, we mentioned this next guy, Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant here. Man, he had a pair of TD catches against the Colts on Sunday. He's just getting it done. I mean, in an offense like that where Roethlisberger's clearly getting the ball down the field at an efficient rate. He was targeted 7 times in his win over Indy, caught 5 for 83. But he's kind of this downfield threat, and you pair him up with Antonio Brown, Marcus Wheaton. This offense is potent enough to handle all 3 of these guys. So if you have a need there, whether it's standard or PPR, he could get it done. They've got the Ravens and then the Jets and Titans. It's a pretty good matchup here for these guys moving forward.
Absolutely, man. If Roethlisberger continues to play the way he did this past week, man, holy shit. Moving on, Cardinals wide receiver John Brown. He had a 75-yard catch late in the 4th quarter, giving the Cardinals 24-20 win over the Eagles. Brown, look, he hasn't had more than 52 receiving yards in a game this season before dropping 119 on the Eagles. So right now, boomer bust with this guy. They get the Cowboys, Rams, and Lions coming up. So not necessarily the best of matchups. So if you're going to pick up John Brown, just be careful.
All right, and lastly for wide receivers is Colts wide receiver Dante Moncrief. Of course, Reggie Wayne was out last week with that elbow injury, so check his status moving into Week 9. But Moncrief did step up. He turned in his best game of his career. He caught 7 of 12 targets for 113 yards and a score. So this guy, he might, being in that Colts offense with Andrew Luck as his quarterback, he could definitely hold his fantasy value. So he's a guy to look at if you need a wide receiver.
Yes, he is. All right, Rob, we're going to move on to tight ends here, and we're only going to talk about one tight end this week, and that is Timothy Wright of the Patriots. He's had 3 touchdown catches over his last 4 games, but again, listen, it's hard to judge when this guy is going to put up decent numbers. He had 5 for 85 and a touchdown in Week 5. And then Week 6 and 7, he only had a 1-yard TD grab over those 2 weeks. And then in Week 8, 7 for 61 and a touchdown. So, you could probably get him pretty cheap right now, and if he ends up blowing up, you'll be a happy, happy camper. Rob?
Indeed you will. All right, well, that's it for the show this week. On our next show, we'll be discussing Week 10 waiver wire grabs, along with helping you decide, put in some who to start and who to sit next week. In the meantime, go to RedZoneWarriors.com where you can watch previous episodes, see our rankings, and subscribe to and rate the show via iTunes. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and tweet us all your fantasy football questions at RedZoneWarriors. So for the Cushman, I am Rob the Commish Smith, and we will catch you next time.